Hey guys, it's Stephanie, and today I just wanted to review the 4 books that I read while I was on vacation. If you guys remember 2 weeks ago, I did a video where I talked about the books I was going to read on vacation, and you guys helped me pick the 4th one. So I did finish 4 books, and 3 of them were on the original TBR. 2 of them were audiobooks, so I got through those pretty easily, and one I think I had a chunk read before vacation. First book I read was, or I guess the correct term is listened to, it was an audiobook, was The Bell Witch, An American Haunting by Brent Monahan. And this was classified as horror and nonfiction. The author says at the beginning that a manuscript was found in the attic of someone who was related to the Bell family but wished to remain anonymous. And the manuscript was the husband of Betsy Bell, writing a letter to his daughter. Betsy Bell was daughter of John Bell and the Bell family that was haunted and afflicted by this spirit that came to be called the Bell Witch. Going through chronologically what happened with the Bell Witch and the certain situations and who was there and just certain big events, and a bit of a warning after he passes away to look out for these signs to make sure nothing like this ever happens again in their family. So it was really, really interesting. There was a lot of really creepy stories. At one point it said that Andrew Jackson and his men visited the Bell farm because they heard stories, and the Bell family did in fact have people over because people were curious and wanted to see the Bell Witch in action. And I guess the spirit really did like to perform and really talk to these people and put on a show. And so it was said that he and his men went and got really spooked and ran away. And I did find other sources that also said that. The only thing was, this was an audiobook, and I wish I would have read something like this as an ebook or a physical book, just so I could see if there was any sources cited or footnotes or just other information backing this up, because this was it was a narrative, so it was him telling a story. And with this, I think it's easy to be a little skeptical of stuff like this, so I just wanted, I guess, a little more information. I mean, with this, I think all that's available is eyewitness accounts anyway, so I don't know what good that would have done. But lesson learned, next time I'm skeptical of nonfiction, don't get it as an audiobook. The creep factor, though, it was really unsettling because you got to see this spirit from its beginnings and how it got stronger. In the beginning, the family just heard scratches and knocks, and it got to the point where the spirit could talk, and this family was just constantly trying to figure out what the limits on its power were and if it had physical boundaries, and not being able to know what the spirit could or could not do, and if it could read their minds, and which would just know information that it would have no way of knowing, or places that it hadn't been, or would have news from halfway around the world, in the early 19th century. It was really creepy and unsettling. You want to know what else was creepy and unsettling, though? That this was narrated by Betsy Bell's husband, who was her teacher, and just many times when he was narrating this story, he's telling us that Betsy was just a beautiful, blossoming young woman at the age of 13, and I realized that it was a different time, but that was just, it weirded me out to hear that just multiple times, how he found this 13-year-old girl to be attractive and went and asked her parents for permission to marry her. It was just really, really creepy. And in the book, in the beginning, the narrator says that a lot of people have speculated on the origins of the witch, and he tells a story, and then at the end he gives information to what the spirit told him is the real origins of this legend and the Bell Witch. So that was really interesting. I ended up giving it 3 stars, which wasn't bad. 3 stars just basically means I enjoyed it, I didn't love it, but I probably, maybe, possibly not think about ever again, honestly. But for a 3-star, like I said, for a summer vacation read is a good rating. So 3 stars for The Bell Witch by Brent Monahan. And the next book I finished was one that you guys, the commenters, helped me pick. It was the one I asked you for help with, and that was The Peach Keeper by Sarah Addison Allen. I really enjoyed this. It was just the perfect, cozy, comfort, chick lit read that I was looking for a summer vacation. I'll definitely be checking out more Sarah Addison Allen. The story takes place in the fictional town of Walls of Water, North Carolina, where a few generations ago, Willa Jackson's family was very prominent and wealthy until they faced financial ruin. Her family's former mansion, the Blue Ridge Madam, is being restored with hopes to make it an inn. And present-day Willa is 30 years old. She runs a sporting goods store and cafe. She doesn't know what to think about this whole restoration. So Willa and Paxton were not friends in high school. Both girls went to the same school, but they definitely ran in different social circles. Paxton was a very wealthy and popular girl, and today at 30 years old, she is the head of the Women's Society Club. Willa Jackson was very shy and quiet and shocked everyone when her identity was revealed as the mastermind behind all of the major pranks in that high school while she was there. Present day Willa Jackson is very different. She manages a sporting goods store and cafe. She hears about Paxton's plans to bring back the Blue Ridge Madam to former glory, but plans for that get halted when there is a skeleton found on the premises. And so both of these very different women from very different walks of life have to come together in attempts to figure out what happened. So this book was very enjoyable. It was very engrossing right away. I just felt like I was very immersed in this whole world in the small little town of Walls of Water. It was very light. It was like I was reading a chick flick. Both of the women have love interests. There's a little bit of conflict with Willa's love interest in that he was very inspired by her high school persona as the jokester, and that actually inspired him to go pursue his own path and not necessarily do what his family wanted him to do. But Willa wants to shake off that part of the past and wants nothing to do with that part of her own history. But it was, yeah, like I said, it was very much a chick flick. You know, both girls had successful love interests. All the loose ends get tied up. There was a random best friend character that was just there for the sake of being quirky. There were also a few things that didn't really get explained, or at least didn't get the attention that I thought they should have. In one of the scenes in the beginning of the book, Paxton is hosting the Women's Society Club meeting, and one of the women raises her hand. And instead of asking a question, she confesses to the fact that every time she goes to a drugstore, she steals lipstick because it makes her feel alive. Everyone is really shocked, and the next woman opens her mouth to say something and instead also confesses a secret, and pretty soon everyone in the club is just confessing all these secrets and being shocked at themselves that these things are coming out of them. And it's just this hilarious scene, and everyone is absolutely shocked at what's going on. Paxton goes home and tells the man she's seeing about what a crazy day it was at the club meeting, and then it's never mentioned again. I liked that Paxton was the wealthy, very popular girl, head of the Women's Society Club meeting, and that she is described as kind of being full-figured and curvy. I just thought it was very different, and I appreciated it. So this book, I absolutely loved it because it checked off a lot of boxes for me. Checked off female friendship, checked off magical realism, and checked off the South. So because of that, I rated it a 3.5 for being enjoyable. I really enjoyed it. It found me at the right time in my life. Like I said, it checked those boxes off. And I am definitely going to check out more Sarah Addison Allen. The third book I finished was Bittersweet by Miranda Beverly-Whittemore. This was recommended to me by Olive at Abookolive when I did my bookish boxes video where I went through and talked about the kind of stuff I like to read about. And she recommended this because I mentioned I loved reading about family secrets. And this is definitely chock full of some family secrets. Bittersweet follows a main character, Mabel, who is a very poor, plain girl who's at a prestigious college on scholarship, and her roommate is the beautiful and popular Genevra Winslow. Ev befriends Mabel, tells her to shorten her name to May, and invites her to spend the summer with her at her family cabin in Vermont. Mabel, or May as she is called for the rest of the book, is obviously very thrilled about that, is very excited about being friends with Ginevra Winslow and all the perks that come with that, and really intrigued by the Winslow family and that lifestyle. Her very wealthy and preppy New England family, and is very much looking forward to spending a summer with them. She goes and they have a big property with a lot of cabins. It's like a whole campground, and the property is called Winlock. Bittersweet is the name of Ev's personal cabin that she is set to inherit within the next few years. Of course, as engrossed as May is with the Winslow family, she starts digging around and finds that they do have their share of dark and dirty little secrets. What I thought was interesting about the book was Mabel becomes very obsessed with keeping her place as Ev's friend and keeping all the perks that come with being part of the Winslow family. And in her attempts to keep her place, she starts doing and becoming a lot of the things that she is finding out about the Winslows themselves. So it was very interesting to see the effect that money and power and that appeal has to people, and seeing that change even in the main character. There was a lot of twists, so as is to be expected, some of them were predictable, some of them were not. Some of them I just thought came out of nowhere. I wasn't a fan of the love interest that was there for Mabel. I didn't think it was necessary, and I really didn't buy it. I thought that also was something that just kind of came out of nowhere. Thought it was interesting. And the last book I finished was an audiobook, and that was Rooms by Lauren Oliver. This was recommended to me by Joce and Brittany from Under the Radar Books. They did a collab video that was just really unique, and I liked it, where they asked people to give them suggestions for recommendations, and I was one of the ones that they answered. I said I liked horror and a little bit of magical realism and family drama, family history, and so I'll link their video to that down below. It was really well done. But one of the books that Brittany recommended was Rooms by Lauren Oliver. Lauren Oliver is better known for being a YA writer. This was her adult debut. Rooms is about a house where a man has died, and his estranged wife and children are coming to, read the will and deal with all the paperwork and funeral and everything that comes with his death. And the story is written in multiple perspectives, and two of the perspectives are actually from ghosts that live in the house. And that was definitely my favorite part, was the chapters that were narrated by the ghosts. They were definitely the main characters. Their chapters are in first person, and they were interesting because you get an outsider's view on this family while also learning bits and pieces about their story and waiting to piece all of their history together at the end and explaining why they're there and haunting the house. A family that comes in has to be a cast of the most unlikable characters I have ever read. Unfortunately, I found them all to be a little cliched. The mom, I really ended up thinking about her as a fat Lucille Bluth. And I say fat because it is just constantly mentioned whenever her character walks into a room. Someone, either the ghost is commenting on how fat she is or has gotten. Really hard just not to associate that character with being fat. Her character was just this rude alcoholic woman. The daughter was a very selfish, manipulative nymphomaniac. The teenage son was suicidal. The oldest daughter has a young daughter named Amy who is very just innocent and naive. The audiobook for this was done really well. There was multiple narrators, and I thought they all did a really great job, except the little girl. I'm sorry. I have mentioned many times that I hate child narrators. I think they're annoying. I hate books written from the perspective of children. It is just one of my bookish pet peeves. And so there was a few chapters that were narrated by the little girl, and they just made me want to puke. She was talking about how her grandmother drinks this special juice that makes her silly. So I'm sorry, just not my thing. I'm sorry, her chapters I didn't enjoy, but like I mentioned before, I really enjoyed the ghost chapters. There was a few problems I had with the book other than the little girl narrating. The suicidal boy forms a love interest with a manic pixie dream girl character next door for no reason. I don't feel like that romance really served a purpose. Maybe at the beginning the author thought to have the love interest may inspire the teenage character not to go through with the suicide, or to inspire him, give him a reason to live, but that's not what that ended up being. And so I just really didn't see the point of bringing that character in. It just really served no purpose. And while it was overall enjoyable, I thought the whole premise of it was very predictable and cliched, with ghosts having unfinished business and the power of forgiveness and letting things go. I felt like was very overstated and heavy-handed. I did enjoy it. I gave it 3 stars. It did, like I said, check off boxes for me. It did deal a little bit with a haunted house in a sense, and it dealt with a family drama, which I liked, and it was told in multiple perspectives, which is something else I also like. So I gave this 3 stars because I did finish it and enjoy it, and thus it was a successful summer read.